I just wish it was bigger. Words that I never thought I would hear myself say out loud. And then I started collecting knives and I started experiencing really great designs that I wished were just a little bit bigger. And today we've got a new one from Shieldon Knives on the table ready to check out that I've already reviewed. But I reviewed the smaller version and now it's bigger. Let's go ahead and check out the Shieldon Knives Scythe XL. Let's go.
This is Sparta!
Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, high five the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And we've got a good one today. And longtime viewers of the channel might actually recognize this. This is, in fact, a very similar design to a knife that I reviewed over a year and a half ago. But this one is a little bit bigger. This is the Shieldon Scythe XL. And the one that I reviewed initially was the regular sized Shieldon Scythe. The XL is, in fact, a little bit bigger. It's about an inch bigger than the original version, but it comes with some very important upgrades. The first is going to be that we're rocking titanium handle scales, titanium 3D milled pocket clip, and DLC on that blade, which is fantastic. So for those of you who didn't see that video, you might be wondering, well, just how big is the Shieldon Scythe XL? And you know, what do I get for my money? And oh yeah, how much does it cost? Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. The Scythe XL is 7 inches overall. It's not a very big knife by knife standards today, but it is definitely big enough to get a full 4-finger grip in my hand. That's nice. And that's because the handle scales are about 4 inches long. It's going to fit most average size man hands, no problem. The blade itself is 3 inches long and it's made of CPM S35 VN, and then it's DLC coated. And you know what we're not going to do today? We're not going to just say, oh, it's DLC coated, and then you do that thing where you go in my comment section and say, well, is it true DLC? There's one way to find out, okay? And that's by trying to scratch the blade, because on DLC coated blades, DLC itself is harder than any steel. A DLC coating, which stands for diamond-like carbon, comes in at a Rockwell of somewhere in the 80s, which means that a regular knife should not be able to scratch this coating because the coating itself is harder than that knife. So let's go ahead and pull out a razor blade and see if we can do any damage to this bad boy. And we're going to find out on camera. Is it true DLC? And I do the bunny ears because, guys, it's either DLC or it's not. There's a lot of rumors out there that DLC has to look a certain way to be true DLC, but all that is really is the difference in how it's applied, because it can be applied in many different ways. But let's go ahead and take this razor blade and see. All right. And look at that. It wipes away. This is, in fact, true DLC coating on the blade. Now, the little scratch marks that you saw initially, that was actually the metal from this utility razor that was scratching off onto the blade itself. It wasn't actually scratching the finish, and that's nice. That means that you've got a bit of extra corrosion resistance, and that DLC, let's be honest, looks really good in this murdered out version of the Scythe XL. And for those of you who don't know, this is why they call it the Scythe. All right, now that we've gotten past that, let's talk about some quality of life type things. We've got, I would call that about a 35% lockup. And there is absolutely no blade play. No shocker here. The Scythe XL was designed by DC Blades, which is the collaboration between Tier 1 Gear and Old Squirrel Knives. And this is a folding version of their very popular, very limited Scythe fixed blade. But on the fixed blade, we didn't have this recurve blade. This part up here was actually sharpened, and they could do that because it's a fixed blade. And if you're wondering why they didn't do that on this folding model, that's because, well, yeah, that would be a bad day for everybody. So yeah, it's a Pakal style knife, which is to say that it's a knife designed with fighting in mind. That's right. You could use this for self-defense. You could use this for attacking. You could protect your gas station Slurpee if that's really what you want to do. But I would say this, guys, this is a very effective tool if you have the training for it. And that goes for using any knife in a self-defense. If you don't have the skills to use it as such, you're just as likely to hurt yourself as anybody else. So if you are buying knives with the intention of using them as self-defense tools, please know that you should probably also spend some time and some money learning how to actually use them. I have absolutely no qualms in saying that, but I will talk about how it feels in the hand, how easily it is to manipulate, and it's very easy to manipulate. This is what many people would consider to be a backup knife. You know, if you need to clear space between you and someone else to get to something like a sidearm in a self-defense situation, that's where this could really come in handy for those who have trained with these tools. And that's fantastic. The Pakal style knife allows you to have enough of a curve to be able to grapple and to grab, and that's very nice. The recurve on the blade does a phenomenal job of pulling in whatever material you're cutting, and it pulls it right into the swell of this blade. Many people will tell me, oh, I don't like recurve style blades because they're hard to sharpen. I can't sharpen it on my flat stone. And I'll say this, that's not necessarily true. As with anything, especially with knives, when you want to sharpen them, you need the right tool for the job. And so in order to sharpen a recurve style blade, you need a rounded or a cylindrical sharpening stone. Or if you don't have one of those, you could in fact sacrifice the corner on one of your regular flat stones. Like for example, let's say that you have a Worksharp Precision Adjust. If you rotate the stone so that you're hitting this edge with the corner of the stone, you'll actually be able to sharpen the entire width of that blade without any issue at all. Or you could just go ahead and pick up a sharpening stone, which is shaped like a cylinder, which is meant to sharpen knives shaped like this. That's what I would tell all those guys out there that say they don't want to sharpen it. Just get the right tool for the job. Not a big deal. It's running on ceramic bearings, and the action is very good. Now, you might look at this and say, oh, it's just a flipper only, but honestly, the phantom flick lives in this one. It's very easy to reverse flick this right off the blade. So does it have a thumb stud? No, and to be quite honest, it doesn't really need one either. That action is perfect, and I have no issue phantom flicking this directly from the blade itself. As for the flipper works very well. It's push button straight open. And then of course on these handle scales, check that out. These are fully contoured titanium handle scales. This contouring is important because it adds a lot of comfort into the hand, which I think is fantastic because it swells on the handle scales. It's meant to fit right in your hand like that and be comfortable. Now, because this is titanium and say not G10 or micarta, you got to get grip somewhere, and that's where this G10 backspacer comes into play. It's a geared G10 backspacer, and you get all of your grip on the handles right there. Now, does it have an opportunity to be uncomfortable? Sure. Is it? No, that's actually very comfortable. If you wanted to get up on this blade and get some precision cutting going, you could lay your thumb on that jimping right there, and you would be fully locked in between the handle scales and the spine of that blade, and that's going to work really, really well. Likewise, in a reverse grip, your palm or the side of your palm will rest against the jimping on that blade, and that also provides an adequate amount of grip. You can, of course, cap off with your thumb, and you are locked in and locked out. Absolutely no issues. Now, typically speaking, we don't see a whole lot of knives these days that are lefty friendly, so check it out. Yeah, that's a filler tab for that titanium pocket clip, so you can in fact swap the pocket clip over. Lefties rejoice. They were in fact thinking of you. Now, let's review, shall we? We've got DLC blade. We've got blacked out titanium contoured handle scales. We've got a geared backspacer, which goes the entirety of the length of the handle scales. You can phantom flick. It's very easy to manipulate. Great knife. Probably costs a whole lot, right? Well, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's also not super expensive. I think it's actually priced well. This comes in at $165. And where can you buy it? You can buy it on Amazon, or you can buy it on the Shieldon Knives website. I'll make sure to link to both below if you want to buy one of these, and trust me, they've sold a ton of these so far. You can in fact use my Amazon link, and know that that definitely helps the channel. But of course, that is entirely up to you. This is a really, really cool knife because it is very purpose-built and purpose-driven, but you could in fact use it for some everyday cutting tasks. Does that mean that you have to be some sort of slurpy ninja samurai to use this thing? No. I think that it's rather cool. And if you're someone that likes to be prepared for your day, maybe you want to have a knife as a backup option and you already do a concealed carry on something like a pistol, this could in fact be a great option for you. But again, I would implore anybody that's using it for that reason to go ahead and get the proper training. Do it. Look up people like Doug Markita or Tactical Tavern. Those guys are phenomenal, but they've trained for a long time to know their stuff. And I think that everyone that's considering doing something like that should do the same. $165, DLC, S35VN, titanium contoured handle scales, single-sided captive pivot, full-length backspacer, reversible pocket clip, guys. What's not to love? Even if you're just an enthusiast, I think that a lot of people that have not currently heard of this knife would actually really enjoy it. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Scythe XL? Is this something that you could see landing in your everyday carry, or would it be a pass for you? Let's have that discussion. If you watched this far and you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.